I hope everyone is having a fantastic Labor Day thus far. This is Atmospheric Alex here to bring you a tropical weather update as to why there's no storms going on right now. Where are all the hurricanes? Well, I will give you some information on that in just a little bit. So for today's video, we're starting off things a little bit different here. We are going to start with the ensemble models because, the main singular models are having a very hard time resolving the system right now, and they are throwing some wonky scenarios across the board, so we'll focus with something that could be a bit more accurate in the long range. So I know it may not look like much, but your system, believe it or not, is right down here. And let me tell you, it is very disorganized right now. It is lacking crucial vital convection right now, and it is not spinning much. So we are not expecting development in the short term, but rather in the medium term. As we push the clock out further, we begin to see our effects of the wind shear out there and even a bit of dry air begin to subside, and we could see a bit of a low pressure pop up here on Wednesday morning. Again, we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with this. It could get pushed out further, or it could develop a little faster. We'll have to see. So now that you got your system out there, all these ensemble members are going to try and take it a certain direction. We'll just have to play this through. Going into Thursday morning, you can see there's actually a bit of agreement here for this system to potentially start developing a little bit. I mean, the models have literally been like a seismometer out there. It's been horrible, the consistency. It goes from, oh my gosh, crazy model run, this is going to be a major hurricane, to, oh no, never mind, it's not going to form, to, oh, it's back again, oh, and then it keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down. We don't know what's really going to happen with this. We might finally be getting some consistency, though. We'll just have to wait and see. But Thursday morning is when this thing could start to try to rotate a little more. I'm not buying these aggressive runs down to a tropical storm already. But you can see, I mean, look at this. It does pass just to south of Jamaica, so that is the good news. But we could potentially try to see maybe an invest system develop here Thursday evening, maybe in the Friday morning. And then by the time this reaches the far western Caribbean, I do expect this thing to start to grow and develop here. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. And we're finally getting back to our consistency, what we saw a few days ago. This thing, depending on the strength of our high pressure out here, this is a very, very large high pressure system right now. And it's really going to depend on this. Will this system, A, go north here through the Yucatan Channel up into the Gulf of Mexico, or B, crash and burn into the Yucatan and possibly go into Central America? We're trying to figure that out right now, and believe it or not, nobody knows what's going to happen. It's good job, models. You're making our jobs a lot easier, let me tell you what. So we'll just have to see, again, what happens with this. But I would watch maybe for a northern shift. We'll just have to see what latest data suggests. But it looks like it could be trying to course correct right now. I'll even take you guys out a little further here. This is the last model run that we were looking at and see some uncertainty here. Again, you do have a couple, it's very sporadic, but you do have a couple of your Gulf solutions here. So do not write the Gulf of Mexico off the table yet. We've only just begun with this system, really. So we have a long ways to go with tracking it, analyzing it with real-time analysis, model data, and of course, a ton of hype as well that I'd recommend you ignore at the best of your ability. Now we're going to take a look at your EPS ensemble, and you can see latest model runs do have the system marked on the map, so this should make it a little easier to track. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully it will make it easier to track. And as we see here, this will be tracking into the Caribbean, will probably lose itself briefly before picking up some steam in the Western Caribbean as it loses its wind shear. You take a look, even the European ensemble thinks this could develop Thursday and Friday. I'm thinking more Friday to Saturday as of right now. It'll probably be a last minute decision here. And you could see definitely going into the Yucatan Peninsula here, Belize, and you could see it emerging on the other side is likely a very large and broad system here with very anemic convection to it. So likely will be disorganized after it runs into the Yucatan Peninsula. However, if it tracks further north, it could maintain intensity and be a huge issue, for the Gulf coastline here. Only time will tell at this point. We're going to take a look at our sea surface temperatures right now, and I'm looking at a much broader map here from weathermodels.com, but we are talking about kind of a very hot Atlantic right now. The main development region, believe it or not, is upwards of 30.5 to 31 degrees Celsius. We're approaching the upper 80s. Holy cow. That is ridiculous. And I want to say this as well. Too much of a good thing for hurricanes can actually be a bad thing. I've been looking into this a lot. Other experts have been talking about this. The waters are too hot right now. That sounds crazy. You're thinking we should be seeing tons of development. We have really warm waters, high ocean heat content, category 5s. They should be forming right now. No, there's a reason why they're not. So with all these hot waters here, where do you think all this hot water is going to go? Where do you think it's going to evaporate? Well, it's going to go up, all right, into the mid portions of the troposphere. Right? You following me? What that's going to do is it's going to warm up much of the troposphere. All right? And if you know your thunderstorm basics, your convection basics, what you need is warm to hot air or water at the surface and cooler air aloft. It'll help it rise really quickly. All right, I'm going to open up a bit of a whiteboard here and kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about. So what you need here, let's pretend this is your water down here, right? You can see kind of your ocean here. Okay, the best way that I could describe this here is that your surface or water temperatures have to be greater than temperatures up in your troposphere. So let's just pretend here that this is all water down here, and it will be set at 88 degrees Fahrenheit, all right? Right there. Now, let's draw in your troposphere here, all the way up here, where your temperatures typically, let's just say at this time of year, are going to be around 60 degrees. Okay? This is an extremely favorable environment for thunderstorms, all right? Because warm air is going to rise into your cooler air. And as such, you're going to begin to see your thunderstorms really grow and develop up here in your troposphere. Look at that giant anvil cloud there as it plows through all that cooler air. Well, we've got a problem. This season, especially later on the season, too much of this hot water down here evaporated into the troposphere. So what are we talking about now? Maybe temperatures closer to 70 degrees. And you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of warm air. I'm sure storms will like that. No, they won't, because you need cooler, much cooler air aloft. What's going to happen now is you're going to try and get your convection going, but it's not really going to get too high up there. It's going to try to grow upwards, but is going to fail a little bit. So you have a lot more disorganization, and this is not good for tropical waves. You're not going to see as much as your rotation because you don't have your deep convection in place. So, geez, you could just imagine here, look at just your sea surface temperature anomalies across your main development region, about 2 degrees Celsius above average. Again, really warming up your troposphere, not allowing any more hot air to rise through cooler air, which means that storms are not going to form as easily, and thus your tropics are going to be quiet. And now you must really be thinking, bust, the season's not going to do anything else because of what you just said. Well, there's something called climatology on the horizon. And that's when your troposphere begins to cool off as we head into fall. And now I'm going to kind of take you through the life of the main development region in a season like this. In order to do this, we're going to use our 2D weather sandbox here, provided from Niels Damon. This is a very addictive weather game here where you can create storms off of heat, off of humidity. You can simulate frontal systems. It's really fun to play and really satisfying. Let's kind of get into this here with your main development region. So let's just kind of play a game of pretend here. So this entire area, you can see I have filled with water. This is your ocean, obviously, and I have set your water temperatures to 29 degrees Celsius. This right here is the beginning of the season. Note here, June 30th. Well, we're going to add a little bit of heat and get this going. And voila, here you go. We have a ton of clouds starting to develop here across your main development region. Take a look at some of this even more vigorous convection here. Look at that. We don't see that right now across the Atlantic, do we? Well, you can see these continuing to grow and develop here into much more greater showers. You could even see a couple of thunderstorms are beginning to form here. And over time, your convection will begin to get deeper and deeper. You can see, we're going to be heading into July soon. Look at that. Got some lightning there. This is an organizing tropical wave, which is about to propagate here off to the west. We're about to see that take place here. We have a lot more convection going on down here now. So overall, a very favorable convective environment for tropical waves to form. There's another tropical wave forming over here. Look at that deep convection ongoing. My goodness, these would definitely develop into some formidable tropical systems here through time. Hey, just like Beryl did, remember that? Very similar environment that we're talking about here, where we don't have much dry air, and we have a ton of convection popping off on all cylinders across the MDR. And look at this storm right here really beginning to go up. Oh my goodness, this would definitely develop into a hurricane if the simulation was capable of doing so, but downstream, this would cause a lot of big issues. Look at this, probably for the Caribbean out here, pretend that the US coastline is here as well. So this would be heading, directly westward here. Very favorable conditions. More convection starting to go up in it as well. All in all, they would need to watch out very closely here. My goodness. Look at that deep convection. All right, but now what happens later in your season? So you still have your tropical waves over here. Just kind of take a look at that. You have your strong easterly winds still ongoing. It's very sporadic, and it looks like an all-or-nothing ordeal. But look at that tropical wave right there really getting going. And we're thinking that's going to sustain a lot longer. That's going to be pushing, out here towards where the U.S. coastline would be. Well, wait. Why is it dying? Look at that. Look at it. It just died. Well, that's because we're heading into September of this year, and we have a lot more dry air out there. I kind of want to show you all what I did to our settings. Look at this. We're not seeing anything anymore. It's dead. Well, I want to take your attention, firstly, to your water temperatures, about 31 degrees Celsius here. And you can clearly see that I have upped your global drying and your heating here. So now what's happening, you do have a few storms out here, I will say, is your water temperatures here are still very warm. They really are. But you're going to start to see a lot more warming take place right about in here. And you begin to notice your convection begins to wind down here as we go on through, as your drying really takes place, and we're not seeing anything explosive anymore. You can see your convection's getting severely capped off here. So what happened to the Atlantic? I thought it was going to get active. Well, you're gonna see a big change here very soon. But before that, nothing. Dead right here. There is nothing going on. Well, that's about to change here very shortly. As the season goes on and we start to head closer to fall, take a look at what happens here. So at first, you don't really see much convection. We're talking about this is September 21st now. Still, just a lot of kind of grungy activity, nothing really significant. But I would like to start to note here, take a look at that, and I want to show you why we're seeing this. I have now applied some global cooling because we're heading into fall. You're not going to have your summer heat anymore, and you're going to have less dry air in this upcoming pattern as well. Even lowered your water temperatures here down to 30 Celsius as opposed to 31. Even with your slightly cooler water temperatures, you start to see more deeper convection going up here. Look at that thunderstorm activity there. You would likely see this. Look at this. Very strong convection. This would definitely be becoming a tropical system here. Tropical storm, even a hurricane, maybe even a major hurricane if this kept running and the simulation was capable enough. Look at that, though. You're starting to see a much more sharper cutoff here in your temperatures, which is allowing more warm air to rise up a lot faster in your environment here. Just take a look at that. And let's go even further now. This is getting into portions of early October up here. And just take a look at these explosive areas of convection going up here. Still have this big tropical wave out here. It just emerged off of Africa, if you could picture it over there. And you're starting to notice that, hey, your environment isn't so dry anymore. We have a lot more convection, cooler air aloft, and look at that. Very healthy tropical wave that just formed out of nowhere. Likely a hurricane on approach to the Caribbean and the United States here. Wow, look at that vigorous precipitation, that lightning activity, very healthy system there. You can even see some rotation starting to develop in your mid-levels here. So we've got a lot to watch heading up in your tropics. That's not our only issue, though. We do have another issue. It's that these tropical waves here are currently coming off too far north. The Saharan desert is getting flooded, for Pete's sake. What is going on? And you start to see that. Look at this wave here that is going, straight up here. This is ridiculous, but it's getting choked off by loads of dry air here. Not much development is expected with this wave out here. Let's take a look at our empirical wave propagation here. This is all your favorable conditions out here that will begin to move further east pretty quickly through time until, look at that, it reaches the Atlantic Basin and just coats it. Look at that. Gulf, the Caribbean, MDR, dark green shades there, and that just continues. We're talking it starts here around September 12th and then continues all the way through early October. So just very favorable conditions potentially coming up as all your dry air and substance begins to get chucked right out of the way here, begins to get blown off to your east, and you have a big plume of favorable conditions on the way with, guess what, your tropical conveyor belt, otherwise known as your intertropical convergence zone, setting up. You can see right now a lot further north. Later on, it'll be a lot further south, and your systems will easily be able to track up through the Caribbean into the Gulf with your strengthening high pressure as well. So with that being said, no, we're not done with our season yet. You could see a lot more members starting to perk up here in our GEFS long range, even close to home. Homegrown systems here, your gyre systems spinning up, and then towards the end of the loop here, I'll go fast. Look at that. Tropical convergence zone begins to dip a little bit further south, and that could mean all the difference as we head into late September, early October. Whew. That was a lot of information to grasp, wasn't it? Thank you all so much for tuning into today's detailed and much more unique and fun tropical weather discussion. I haven't really done one of these in-depth ones before, so apologize if I sound a little rusty or maybe like I don't know what I'm doing. I promise I do. I just hope the word gets out in a proper way. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash the like button. Even consider subscribing to my little corner of the weather community. Even sharing this video out to family and friends who may need it the most. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in today's video, and I hope you all have a fantastic Labor Day.